Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inside the Texans. We are live at NRG Stadium following Saturday's victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. Now it's on to the divisional round, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. We're in the lobby right now. We're leading up to 11:30. We'll be streaming the D'Amico Ryans news conference. He is slated to meet with the media here in about a half hour or so. Pleasure to be joined by our Texans insider for ClickToHouston.com, Aaron Wilson, and also Landry Locker, host and owner of the Locker Room on YouTube, also SNL. He teams up with Cody Stoots. Great coverage of the Houston Texans. Guys, we're playing some more playoff football this week, and that is a good feeling. I didn't want today to be the day they're cleaning out the lockers.
Round two, Randy. Rematch, and back to Arrowhead Stadium, where the Texans hung in there for a little while against the Chiefs back in December. Of course, the site of the horrific Tank Dell injury, and that definitely cast a pallor over that game. But now they chop it up at the end in the playoffs. See how they do.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of seems like the switch has been flipped. I'm sure we'll get into it the moment that happened. But you look at the opening line, they're an 8-point underdog, which, I mean, that's a lot of respect that the Texans are suddenly getting a short time after they were considered a bye. But I value what the people in Vegas say, and you go from being a 3-point dog at home against the Chargers and you just smack them around, and now all of a sudden you're just an 8-point dog against a team that's looking to be the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. And I think it's interesting just how much the switch has kind of flipped, or it appears to have flipped, before they go in freezing Kansas City.
I want to ask you, because they downplayed it last week. It seemed like all week we would talk in questions to D'Amico and inside the locker room, the whole deal with Rex Ryan, and we'll show that in a minute. But they downplayed that, except after that game, man, they kind of let it all out, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Joe Mixon on the Instagram Live, love that. The victory cigars that he bought before the game, supplied for the guys, and as Larry Tunsil told me, pretty sweet cigars. Love the stogies, and that's a cool moment. I've always liked that in college football when they do that. Yeah. I think it's a great tradition for the NFL, a new tradition for the Texans, and they deserved them. You know, smoke them if you got them. They won that playoff game in dominant fashion, and I think Joe Mixon's added a swagger and a confidence, and he's kind of a really tough guy element to this offense. Love it.
We have some video, by the way, as we talk about this. You'll let me know when the video's up, guys, of Mixon in the locker room. But kind of, Kerry, I want to later take on that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because motivation can come in different ways, and they won't admit it, but I think the grind and the uncertainty of the schedule this year, where you're not having all noon games, I think it kind of caught up to him. Like, you could kind of see CJ looked a little bit defeated, didn't have the same spirit, but who would know that a bad snap and a comment from Rex Ryan could be what kind of wakes this team up? Like, if that bad snap doesn't happen, I think there's a chance we're talking about, perhaps them cleaning out their lockers. And they can tell us that the Rex Ryan thing wasn't a thing. It was definitely a thing. They confirmed that.
It was somewhere on a board somewhere around the locker room of this facility. Man, it had to motivate.
And for D'Amico Ryans to say it, I think it was his second sentence of his post-game speech, that's more confirmation than anybody could need. Yeah. He's just not going to let on during the week in the media settings. But behind the scenes, sure, they use it. And in talking to guys, I thought one of the most interesting perspectives was Aziz Al-Shaair. He said, that's showbiz, that's TV. He said he can't get caught up in that. Eric Murray compared it to the Bart Scott Jets can't wait kind of thing.
All right, we have some reaction. You saw the video there of Joe Mixon making the rounds inside the locker room. Cigars for everybody. Here's some reaction after that win Saturday.
You get with the outside noise, and it just is what it is. Everybody got an opinion about, a team, but when it come down to it, bro, like when it come down to it, when you get through the white lines, for 60 minutes or more, like I said, it's a playoff. No stat matter. Only thing that matters is the win.
It doesn't matter what everybody says. Like the outside noise, man. We know what type of team we got, and man, it's really a blessing. Like I've never been a part of a team with this much camaraderie.
All right, that was a reaction there after the win over the L.A. Chargers. A lot of fun in that locker room. They were celebrating, but they'll quickly, and we've all been around this team, they're really good at turning the page and celebrating briefly, but moving on to what's next in front of them. And of course, that'll be the Kansas City Chiefs. But right now I want to talk about we were talking about before the show as well, is what a lot of people call it the drive that kind of really changed the momentum of this football game late in the first half. And it starts, we got video of each play. I want to start with the bad snap play that C.J. Stroud got his hands back on that football, rolled out, had that big completion to Xavier Hutchinson. I mean, that changed everything right there. Landry, let's start with you on that play.
Yeah, and I think the defense made it possible. And I know it's easy to focus on the quarterback, and I do agree that that was the turning point, but I think the defense gave them an opportunity to even have the opportunity to flip the switch. You look at the first drive, I think Alshire going down was actually a break, because if you notice, 3 plays after that, the Chargers were off the field. It was almost like, I'm not saying he faked the injury or anything. He was out a snap later. They talk about that in college, but they settled for 3. Then you have John Mechie fumble. They had to settle for 3. CJ throws a bad interception. Kamari Lassiter gets the interception right after. The defense set them up, and that is their superpower, is the defense. But the offense is going to have to show a pulse, and I do think that was the play. And it's interesting, Randy and Aaron, is like us jamokes can be in the press box and we can say, well, that's the turning point and all that. But those guys said it unsolicited. Derek Stingley said it. Right. Joe Mixon said it. CJ said it. D'Amico said it. And you could just kind of feel that the offense, it needs to show a pulse. The superpower is going to be the defense. If they're going to win, it's going to be the defense. We know this. But the offense showed a pulse. In that moment, it synchronized where the media, the fans, and the players all felt it.
Yeah, I called it broken play brilliance. You have a situation where he took, thank you, he took his eye off the snap. He's a little distracted at the moment. Yeah. Patterson snaps a little high up on the right side, but he, very alertly on the hop, and it took a good bounce. Sometimes you need a little luck picking that football up and then alertly finding Xavier Hutchinson. Great play by C.J. Stroud, and I agree, that is the spark. Yeah,
it started the momentum shift. Now, further along, we got another play in that drive. Moments later, I believe, was it 2 plays later? I don't know the play sheet in front of me, but it was C.J. hooking up with Nico Collins, and I believe that was a 37-yard pickup, punched it a little bit further down, and all of a sudden, they're feeling something here offensively.
It set the stage for a really good slant pattern and pass for Nico Collins, and Nico in the red zone. Who else would you want to throw to? Big-time target, 8th touchdown of the year, and this guy had 1,000 yards and missed 5 games. Outstanding receiver.
All right, so it sets up the touchdown. We're going to play, roll this play from Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Texans, has the radio call. This is the touchdown pass from C.J. To Nico that capped off the drive, an unbelievable drive, 99-yard drive. Here's how it ended.
CJ in the gun on 3rd and 11 at the Charger 13. Here's the snap. Stroud looking, throwing over the middle. Hits Nico. Across the goal line he goes. Touchdown, Houston! The Texans tie the game.
Yeah, that was the touchdown pass to cap it off. An amazing drive. Again, all of a sudden, momentum had changed. Texans on the board. They later added that field goal late in the first half and had a 10-6 lead there at halftime. But that's how it ended, with that touchdown pass from C.J. to Nico. Here's reaction from C.J. and also D'Amico Ryans on the impact of that entire drive.
After, we made the completion, I looked at the sideline. Everybody was turned up, so that turned me up because I was still kind of mad at myself. But, yeah, those are the type of plays that change momentum, and that's when, a team can, rally around plays like that.
The play that he made on the fumble snap and throw to Hutch, that's the play that just sparked our entire, not our offense, but our entire team, right? Seeing the way all of our guys responded.
Sarge is walking into the room.
All right, that was C.J. Stroud, of course, and D'Amico Ryans talking about that drive. I mean, is that going to go down as one of the, when you look at the all-time great drives, I didn't look them all up, but, man, that's one that stands out when you look at the history of this franchise, the impact that one drive had.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what happens against the Chiefs, but that's definitely going to be the moment that we look back. I mean, at that point, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, man, if they get out of this half down 6, that's successful. If they can just punt and the defense can hold them and you're down 6-0, almost consider that success. You go up 7-6 and then you even steal 3 more. If they are able to make some noise against the Chiefs, then that's definitely going to be one of those moments. And let's be honest, they've never been to the AFC Championship game, so it's kind of a lowish bar when it comes to all-time drives in franchise history. Definitely a big moment, though.
Look at where they stand in these key moments. They're the only team in the AFC South that hasn't been to the AFC Championship game, and a drive like that has put them on the precipice of perhaps knocking off the champs. We'll see. They got a puncher's chance. They'll go in there, like I said, 8-point dogs. But I think that drive, really, it's someone that we'll be probably talking about for years.
Absolutely. All right, so let's segue now. Let's talk a little bit more about Nico Collins and the job he did yesterday. Found a way to get open. CJ hooked up with him. Final numbers was 122
on 7 and 8 targets.
Catches.
Didn't have a target in the first quarter somehow.
So it's a Texans franchise record in a playoff game. When you need him most, Nico Collins steps up. He did that yesterday. Landry started.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been kind of the case. They're they really just have one guy that they can consistently count on to produce on offense, and it's been Nico Collins. You'd like to see some other guys be able to do that. The other element I think that the Texans can use outside of Nico Collins is CJ's legs. That was the third most yards he's had with his legs in his NFL career, and in the other 2 games they lost. It was the Jags lost a couple years ago, and it was the Jets loss this year. If CJ can use his legs, and you saw Mahomes as their weapons kind of got worse, he kind of developed the ability to use his legs a little bit. If CJ can do that, and he can find Nico Collins, and maybe someone else steps up, I think it's a big thing. But Nico is definitely the straw that stirs the drink with these receivers.
Yeah, talking about Nico, 6'4", 222, 4.4 speed, and he's someone that I credit to good scouting and a good decision in terms of money. They looked at him when he was, missed that season at Michigan, sat it out because of COVID concerns, and then they drafted him in the 3rd round. It's one of their first picks. Then they signed him to a $75 million deal. It's money well spent. Nick Caserio and the scouting department did a good job with Nico Collins. That's a case of development and the player just having the talent.
All right, Nico spoke after victory on Saturday. Here's a little bit of that conversation.
Our mission to go out there and have fun. We know how much this win meant, how much this game meant. So I feel like for us, man, that's what we did. Went out there, have fun, just being us, and we left it all out there. Noise, that's part of it. People going to say, people going to, voice their opinion, but it is what it is. We know what it is in this locker room. We know every day, we step between them lines. We know what's up, but people going to say what they don't want to say. But I think we talking about, Rez Brown talking about the bye week, getting in the week. That was crazy. He said that, but where we at now, but we got to continue to go.
All right, good stuff there from Nico Collins, and as good as that game was, he was talking about it. We had a great game. He stepped up, other guys stepped up, and he said, man, we got a bigger one coming up here in just a few days. At the time, they didn't know who they were playing, but, of course, we now know it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and I like him in these big game situations. You think about someone, 1, he is big. 2, he can get open. And 3, he can jump over you. I like a lot of things about what Nico Collins does as a route runner, and it's unfortunate they don't have that complimentary presence right now. Somebody's got to step up to go with him. John Mitchell III's got to hold on to the football. Deontay Johnson only had 1 catch, didn't look super happy about only being involved once after the game.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, he was kind of sitting in his locker, looked a little sad. See what's going on. But someone else has got to step up. Dalton Schultz, anybody, raise your hand. They got to get some help for Nico.
Absolutely, and it's going to have to happen. The offense, as much as they showed a pulse, they're going to have to be better in Kansas City. They're going to have to. They got the opportunity, though, because of the efforts of Nico Collins, the defense, and CJ after he flipped the switch.
Yeah, 27-19. The Chiefs beat the Texans when they played roughly a month ago, right before Christmas. They're going back. Probably with some confidence, like, hey, we'll do a couple more extra things. Of course, they lost Tank Dell that day as well, but they probably believe they could have won that football game. So much different story if you're facing the Ravens, who just pounded you here at NRG Stadium. All right, right now we're going to roll out as we go to break. Guys, I think we got some D'Amico Ryan sound following a victory Saturday over the Chargers. We'll roll that, go to break, and when we come back, we'll dive into this matchup with the Chiefs. Inside the Texans, live from NRG Stadium, continues when we come back.
Playing playoff football, first thing first, you have to stop the run. And that's where our interior defensive linemen really played great today at stopping the run. Right? You stop the run, you force teams to have to throw the ball, and that's why our entire D-line, they cut it loose, and they really got a lot of pressure on the quarterback as every guy from Will to Nico, Everybody, Mario with a sack. I mean, all across the board, those guys were rushing together. They were disciplined with their rush lanes. Everybody did a great job of keeping Herbert in the pocket, and they were able to get him down several times. Offensively, we started slow. Right? We started slow. We put the ball on the ground too many times, and we needed a play. And that's what it looks like when your best players step up and make the plays. That's what playoff football is about. That's what, being a big-time player in the league is about. And, of course, you see the fumble snap, and I'm just thinking, like, please pick the ball up. And then we're able to, to see CJ improvise and find Hutch, keeping his eyes downfield, just having that confidence in himself and his ability to avoid the rush and still keep his eyes downfield and find Hutch. And that was an outstanding play. To me, that was the play of the game that really, created momentum for our entire team. So we want to see from our offense just throughout the entire year. We know there's been some inconsistencies, but to see everybody put it together when we need it most here in our first game of the playoffs, and couldn't be, again, more happy for everybody and just where we can continue to ascend if we do things the proper way.
All right, we are back here on Inside the Texans, live from NRG Stadium in the lobby. We're getting ready at the bottom of the hour. We're going to hear from head coach D'Amico Ryans. He will speak. We were waiting last night. Once that Sunday Night Football game was over, we had to wait on their schedule, but he will speak today. More of the guys will start talking beginning tomorrow here at NRG. I'm joined again, as we told you at the top, Landry Locker, host and owner of The Locker Room at SNL on YouTube. Aaron Wilson, click2houston.com, and now join us here talking some Chiefs as well. Brian Bearfield, Big Sarge Media, and Big Sarge Sports hanging out with us as well. Thanks for popping on here. Back half of the show here. We got about 8 or 9 minutes. Let's dive right into the matchups. Let's move forward to going back to Arrowhead Stadium, guys. They played these guys about a month ago. 27-19 loss. The same day they lost Tank Dell in that injury as well. But we were just speaking before the break. They did some good things in that loss. They probably going back feeling like, man, we can get a win. I don't care if we're underdogs or not, but there's some confidence coming out of that game in Kansas City. Landry, let's start with you.
Yeah, and I think their superpower is the front seven. It's the first time we've seen the front seven healthy, and the Chiefs O-line's not good. Like it's not. It might be better than the Texans O-line, but it's not a good offensive line. And you look at the Texans' superpower, which is the front seven. The best way that they're going to win this game is get to Mahomes. So I think that's the one thing that you hang your hat on is your superpower, what you have peaking right now. It's going against offensive line. And there's also a real big rust factor that's being played up by the national media. I mean, Football Night in America almost spent 4 minutes talking about rust for Kansas City. So I'm kind of hesitant to buy into that, but I do think that your superpower is going against an offensive line that's not that good.
Right, and they are 15-2 for a reason. I'm not too worried about the Chiefs and being ready for the game with Andy Reid coaching them. Also, their offensive line, they only gave up 1 sack in that game. There was some pressure, but I thought Joe Thuney and those guys did a pretty good job counteracting this very talented Texans front seven. So they should be extra motivated to keep it up what they did at the Chargers game.
All right, folks, back at the station. Go ahead and start rolling that. Just a little bit of Patrick Mahomes video. We got some of that, and also Travis Kelce. Keep us updated on that. Sarge, I want to ask you, let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. This guy is undefeated in his divisional games. He knows what he's doing. He's won Super Bowls. He knows what he's doing out there, and they're going to be playing in front of that much ground.
Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys that anytime he steps on the field, he gives the team an advantage. No matter, we've seen him in the Super Bowl with him playing with an offensive line with the equivalent of stockers at a grocery store. And, we remember the amount of scramble yards that he had in that game in the Super Bowl. So anytime he steps onto the field, because of what he brings as far as his intangibles, there's no play that's ever dead when you have him on the field. And if you don't have him in your grasp, taking him to the grass, sacking him, he still has an opportunity to be able to get the ball and get the ball out down the field. And now so many people like a Travis Kelce and some of those other receivers that are playing with him knows that he wants to, be able to move in the pocket, be able to get out and just find a spot. If you find a space, he's going to find you.
Yeah, we're seeing some Travis Kelce right now, and he's going to be ready. He's been there before. Big game guy. And then they've got some other receivers, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. I mean, they've got weapons right there. It's going to be a big challenge for this defense.
Yeah, I'm concerned about Hollywood Brown. I almost look at him as like a trade deadline acquisition for them.
Yeah.
And I think if Hollywood Brown were by far and away their number one threat, I think you would be able to take him out of the game. But they got Worthy, they got Hopkins. They've actually done a pretty good job with their skill positions. And I don't know that the Kansas City Chiefs, this is crazy to say, I heard Sarge and you talking about the 15-2. They really lost one game that they were actually trying to win. Like it's weird because when a team only loses one game, I still don't feel like they've peaked. Like, I feel like Buffalo perhaps has played the best they're going to play. I feel like maybe Baltimore has. The Chiefs, in a crazy way, when you look at all these skill position guys and you look at the Hollywood element, I don't know that they've even peaked on offense, which is scary.
Patrick Mahomes, Houdini and cleats, he always finds the angles, and I look at everything he can do, and I've got a lot of confidence in him against any defense, even one as good as the Texans. I look at everything, the way he scrambles, his ability to rifle the football, and they have got such a formidable task in front of them. It's a challenge, but like we said, they hung in there against him last time, and that competitiveness, that's something they got to hang their hat on.
Sarge, we a little while ago in the first segment, we talked about the Texans offense, specifically Nico Collins. They're going to lock in on this guy right now. When you look at the Chiefs defense, what are the biggest concerns Texans are going to be facing there?
Some of the biggest concerns is the fact that they have and I know this is going to sound weird because a guy used to play right here, Justin Reed. He is the quarterback of that defense to me. Now, I know that they have Chris Jones up front, but he makes things go from that safety position. And because even when he was here, we realized how smart he was. I mean, he puts that Stanford education to use when he's on the field. And so he's one of those guys that knows that if they can take away Nico Collins with the inexperience of Hutchinson, with some of the inexperience of Mechie, and then you do have a Deontay Johnson, but he also knows how to play them too. So he is going to be the key factor for me because he sees everything in front of him.
All right, we only got about 2 minutes left before we wrap it up. We got to get inside and get ready for D'Amico Ryans and his news conference. It's still early in the week. We're going to be talking about this matchup all week long. Gut feeling right now going into this one, Landry.
I think you got to give it to the Chiefs. I mean, you got to lean Kansas City. The other element is we've broken all this down. The elephant in the room is you also got to battle refs when you take on Kansas City. Let's just be honest about it. I'm not like a blame referee guy, but like you have to take on the refs. I don't know if they would be allowed to rough up Patrick Mahomes the way they were able to rough up Justin Herbert. At some point, maybe they slam him to the ground too much, and it's a 15-yard penalty. So I would obviously respect what the champs do, the Chiefs, but if they are going to win, that front seven, it's fully healthy. They're playing their best. There's an element, but there's also that elephant in the room. You're battling zebras too.
You need about 5 sacks and 10 hits and maybe a forced fumble that you return for a touchdown, I think, to really feel like you're going to pull off the upset. Right now, I'm leaning Chiefs. I mean, they're the champs for a reason. Until someone knocks them off, I'm not going to just blind faith and say, oh, well, they'll do it. I think you got to go with the Chiefs.
About 20 seconds.
Of course, I got the Texans 27-24. Win this one for Tank.
There you go. All right, good stuff. Hey, we're out of time. We're going to hand it off, and we got D'Amico Ryans coming up again. Special thanks, Landry Locker, owner, host of The Locker Room and SNL on YouTube, all things Texans. Aaron Wilson, click2houston.com, and Brian Bearfield, Big Sarge Media, covering the Texans as well. Good stuff, guys. Thanks for the time. It's going to be a fun game week as they get ready for the Kansas City Chiefs. So long for now from NRG. D'Amico Ryans News Conference coming right up.